I guess I can start my presentation. So can everyone see my screen?
Looks good.
Okay.
Yeah, we can.
Yes.
Yep.
So, uh, hello everyone. My name is Joshua Cho, and I'm the current treasurer of IEEE. And I'm happy to talk about Android application. So, today I'll review some of the fundamentals and build a basic surface view camera. So, for this, you'll need some knowledge of Java and Android Studio. Uh, So let's talk about some of the fundamentals before we actually build a sample. So Oncreate function is like the main function in Java. It is the starting point of every activity and it overrides from its parent class app compact activity. Also, the setContentView function allows us to inflate the layout we created, and we can use the views within the layout from the source code by calling its ID. So as you can see, I have Uncreate function and setContentView function. So what I'm doing is I'm inflating activity main. Its layout name is activity main, and the Uncreate function is like the main in Java. So let's see. View and layout. View is the UI, the user interface, and some of the examples of them could be text view and button, which inherits its properties from text view. So the transition between the text view and button is very simple. For the layout, there are constraint layout, linear layout, relative layout, frame layout, and table layout, and we can call the layouts and the views from the source code through their ID. Any questions so far? Um, June, by the way, are you recording or should I be the one recording the meeting?
Oh, I'm recording.
Oh, thanks, June.
Yeah, no problem.
So, um, yeah. So we can define the constraint, orientation, and weight for the layout and view. So as you can see on the right, I sort of wrote a very simple code. The above picture is a sample of the layout and the views within. You can see that within the linear layout, I have a text view, button, and scroll view, and how I've changed its properties like width, height, and weight. So as you can see, I have changed the height, width, and text of each property. I can designate a weight to each views as well. Um, View and action event. So views can also handle events. For buttons, you can either use set on click listeners or use the method you defined within the .xml file. So in the above picture, you can see that when the button is clicked, it changes the picture by calling change image function. So I circled in red pen. So on button one clicked is the function that I defined in the XML file. And it is calling the change image. And bitmap is for the image, so it is changing the image in this code. So everything so far looks very abstract, but when we get to the code part, everything will make sense.
Josh,
Yeah?
I was just gonna say if you wanted to maybe explain just briefly what like event listeners are, because I know it's a little bit of a abstract concept
Yeah,
people might not
so
into.
yeah, that sounds good. Event listener. So like set on click listener is one of the listener. So what happened is when events occur, like button is pressed or anything like anything, any events happen, the the listener function will be automatically called and the body of the function will be executed. So that's the listener function. And there's two ways to handle the events, using listener function and defining your own specific method in the layout. So this is a sample. So this um app, which is very simple, is generated from the code, this code. So public class main activity on create on button one click change image. Once I run this code, it'll look like this. So I'll play the video. So once I click change image, it'll change the image. So yep. Because it is a scroll view, I can scroll the large image and view everything. And when I click image, it changed the image. Can everyone see the video?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
Very
So
cool,
what happened
Josh.
was, thanks, James. You're not.
Yeah,
You're still
guess
here.
guess who forgot to put us in the SA meeting? they
Oh,
they didn't put us in the schedule, so we're doing it next week instead now. So I'm back.
oh boy. Essay is something.
SA is something else, man.
Yeah. Hey, glad to see you here, James. Then.
Good to be here. I'd much rather be doing this than sitting in on the SA meeting.
Yeah. So to view the large image again, because the screen size is very small, it is hard for us to see the large image. So what happened was I'm using the scroll image. Let me replay it again. So I'm using a scroll image so I can scroll bottom, left, and right. That happens because I made a scroll like here. Set content view are dot layout the activity main, and I'm inflating activity main that contains the scroll view. And each views can be called by its ID. So find view by ID r.id.scroll view. So and then all these functions, each image can be manipulated by using bitmap. So all these codes in the Oncreate function is making this application. So when I click the button change image button, it is calling on button one click function, which is then calling the change image function. All right. So you can also allow toast message by using toast.makeText function. So toast message is a message that is popping at the bottom. For example, in the picture on the right, you can see the toast message details saved successfully. So in here, when the button is clicked, on button one clicked, a function will be called to handle the event, and the new toast message with a text hello for a length long will be shown. You can also create a snack bar. Snack bar is a little bit different from the toast bar, toast as you can see in the picture below. So snack bar dot make function and dot show function will show this snack bar at the bottom with a text snack bar. Any questions so far? I guess we can continue. So, alert dialog. To create alert dialog, it requires a little bit longer code than the toast and snack bar. For alert dialog, we can define positive, neutral, and negative buttons and let them handle the different events once the user clicks one of them. So, I can create alert dialog by using alert dialog.builder. And then to set title, you have to call several methods from the alert dialog. So set title function, you can define a title. Set message, you can define a what message to be shown at the top. And set icon, you can put any image that you like in the alert dialog. So you can make 3 buttons total: positive button, neutral button, and negative button. So once each button is clicked, you can make different events to happen. So for this example, different um different text will be shown when I click either positive, neutral, or negative. Layout inflation. Layout inflation is one of the most important things to know in the Android application. Once you have your layout, you inflate it by using setContentView. Once the views and the layout are uploaded to the memory, you can manipulate them within the source code through their ID and show it to the screen. For example, I can use the button in the layout by calling its ID through find view by ID. So I first have to create a layout XML file, and setContentView function will inflate the layout. It'll be in the memory. Once it is on the memory, you can manipulate each views by calling their ID. For example, find view by ID r.id.button. You can find the button you defined different events. For example, many slides before, here. So activity main is the layout that I made. And set content view, it is inflating this layout. And this layout contains scroll view, image view, and the button. I can call these views because it is on the memory, and I have called them through their ID by using find view by ID function. Alert dialog. So intent. Intent allows us to do many things, and the most common usage is to switch to different activity. The most common ones are action dial, action view, and action edit. In my example, this intent allows us to go to dialog page and call through the phone number I provided. So when I execute this code, it'll put this phone number 010010010 on the dialing screen and allow us to call. So intent, as its word imply, it means what intent you want to do. The start activity function will execute the intent we defined.
Wait, Josh, question about intent really quick. So why is this action view? What's action dial? What's the difference between action dial, action view, and action edit? So, like, action view makes me think that, like, what is it actually doing? Because when I see the phone number, I'm like, oh, action dial means that it's gonna call the number. What's action view? Why are we doing action view?
So for dialing, action dial and action view is same. But when you're doing different stuff, they're different. Like for example, I'm calling a different web page or doing the dialing, you have to use action dial and action view differently. So for dialing, for example, action dial and action view will be the same. So like for example, even if you put action dial, you won't call this phone number directly. It'll just put the phone number on the dialing page. So
Oh,
technically, action dial, action view will serve the same purpose, but when it comes to different intents, like calling different website, you have to use the different actions. Um, you have to choose it.
Interesting. I hope we can get a good example of that later on. I'd be interested to see how the different intents impact, all of how that first parameter impacts everything.
Yeah, so I actually used the intents in my very first Android workshop. Um, yeah, maybe I can re-explain sometime later. Yep.
Sure, sounds good.
Yeah, so activity, yeah, any more questions? Activity lifecycle. Activity lifecycle is also one of the most important thing to know in the Android application. An activity goes to different phase of life cycles, and they are on create, on start, on resume, on pause, on stop, and on destroy. Once app is launched and runs after on create, on start, on resume, the app is executed and shuts down once on pause, on stop, on destroy functions are executed. And you can also override these functions. For example, I have onCreate and onDestroy. And onDestroy function wasn't initially on the code, but by overriding, I'm calling super, which is calling its parent function. Once it is at the onDestroy phase, I have defined it so that toast message with a text onDestroy popping out for long duration. So within yeah. So now we will use all the things that we have learned and build a simple surface view camera. So to take pictures, there are two ways. The first way is using intent and start activity for a result function, which I used in my last workshop. Today I will use surface view to take picture, which allows us to use camera from the screen without opening the default camera. So let's go over some of the basics of the surface view. So first, we have to use surface view and the surface holder and not an ordinary view to use surface view camera. And the ordinary view is like a scroll view or just the ordinary view. Surface view camera allows us to take pictures without opening a default camera app. So in my last workshop, where I used the intent, I had to call the default camera application and then open it. But in this case, we don't have to call the app and then open it. And its default orientation is landscape mode and not portrait. So to change into a portrait mode, it requires more complex source code. So I'll just use the default landscape orientation mode. So this is what we'll make. So the default orientation mode is the landscape. That is why the way it is shown is awkward. It's in the landscape mode. To change it, it requires more code. So I'll just make this application. So let's actually write the code. So could everyone pull out their Android Studio, please? And I have to change the share screen now. How do I
You go down to the
change?
screen share button, and there should be an option to switch it.
Uh,
Or you can just share your whole screen one if you have nothing, or like if you're on a laptop and not two monitors, you can do that too.
Yeah.
So you don't have to
Keep swamping.
Everyone see my Android Studio?
Yes.
Oh, nice.
Yep.
So let me know once you have Android Studio ready.
If you don't have Android Studio, you can also just follow along.
Yep, sounds
Quick
good.
question, Josh. When it asks
Yeah.
for a project template, which one should we select? To create the
Project
new
template?
project? Yeah.
Yeah, you have to choose the wait, let me show you. So file, new, wait. So you're seeing this page, right? Choose empty activity and then click next. And then for the name, you choose anything. For package name, anything. Language, you have to use Java. I mean, you can use Kotlin, but I don't know Kotlin. And
Yeah.
minimum SDK, just use a default one. And then once you click finish, you'll see the page similar to mine. So I guess I can start. So click the res folder and click the layout folder. And if you click the layout folder, you'll see activity main.xml. So what I want to do is, let's see. All right. So we're gonna do, all right, this is what the layout looks like initially. When I launch the app, all it'll say will be hello world. So we have to change the layout. So this is currently in constraint layout. As I explained before, there's many layouts, constraint and the linear layout. In this case, I'll use a linear layout. So delete everything, linear layout. Delete the whole text view. And then Android orientation is vertical. So for the linear layout, I'm defining the orientation to be vertical.
What is the orientation? What's the other? Like, I assume it's horizontal and vertical. What does that actually change for the display, though?
Good question. So how do I explain? So let's say the layout is, let's see this whole empty blank is the layout. I mean, yeah, the screen. Then you're gonna add many views, right? So like buttons. Let's say you're gonna put 4 buttons. If you have the constrained view, let's say this is the button. Constrained view will make, you can put button any, it's like this, it's all random. But if you do linear layout, and if you create the button, it'll be top down order, yeah, top down order, like this. Wait, how do I um fine linear layout?
I get it.
So
I found the documentation. It changes the
yeah, like
horizontal
this,
or vertical. It's
like
whether it
this.
starts up on the top or if it starts over on the side, right?
It's top down
That's
order,
essentially what
yeah,
it does. When you say
top
for it
down.
to be vertical, right? Okay,
And if I
that
do
makes sense.
horizontal,
It'll go all the way over to the side.
yeah,
That's
all
my
the way to
assumption.
the sides. Yep, got it. Yeah.
Okay, makes sense.
All right. So now we'll create the button, and with to be wrap content. wrap content means take the size of the button according to the size of your letters in the button. The height wrap content Android ID is button center horizontal. Android text is take picture. So you created a one view, which is button. And now we'll create we'll put a layout, frame layout. This to be match parent, match parent. Match parent means fill the whole screen. And the wrap content means just put the size according to the words in the view. The Android ID is preview frame. And the reason why I'm creating the frame layout is because we have to put the surface view within the frame layout. So once you write this code, it'll look like this. Take picture button on the top in the center because I put center horizontal. And below the button, there'll be preview frame. And inside the preview frame, I'll put the surface view. Let me know if everyone is finished with this part.
I don't know if that this happened to anyone else, but when I started it up, it just took a while to load, so I'm just kind of catching up a little bit. I don't know if anyone
Okay.
else. I just thought I'd bring that up just in case anybody else had that same issue.
Yeah, especially for the people who just have launched, who just have downloaded Android Studio and haven't made any application before, launching process will take uh many minutes. So yeah, let me know if you need more time.
While we're at it, let's have a philosophical discussion about the layout of this XML file. I think it's very interesting that they lay it out where each property is on its own line indented. And now I question why we don't do this when programming in HTML and we just have all the attributes on one line. But here they have all of the attributes on their own lines. That's so comfy. It would look way better if
Yeah.
they did that in HTML.
Yeah, it's very nicely designed.
It really is. I like that style.
Yeah. I mean, what I like the most about is that you can write the layout through the source code and the design mode. So like you can literally drag each views without even writing any code.
Oh, that's really
Yeah,
nice. It's
yeah, that's what
like
I was gonna
touche.
ask. That's what I was gonna
Yeah.
ask.
So does it
'Cause,
like auto generate the code, or
correct,
is it
it
like
does.
Yeah, so like for
that's cool?
example, if I put another button, yeah, there's a button here. At the code, you can see the change in the button here.
They just
Automatically
insert
creates.
the button. They have HTML editors that do that. I've always wanted to mess around with this.
Yeah, but because we're the programmer, we shouldn't use the user interface. We have to be coder, right?
Of course, of course. We do our GUI design through text because we are cool.
Yeah, I was
To a
watching it.
point. I think that's to a point.
Yeah, I was gonna say because I'm like I was toying around with Android for app that I'm currently developing, and every single program, every single like YouTube tutorial is like, all right, so guys, we're gonna hop in the code stack. Just like, why? Just tell me like what to drag and drop. It make
Well,
life easier.
Matthew, what app are you creating?
No, that's me.
That's
Brian.
Brian.
Oh yeah, so
Oh, it's Brian. Sorry, Brian. Oh,
You're
just
good. You're
trying
good.
to
No
find your
problem, man.
name.
You're good. No
Brian, what
problem.
app are you making?
I'm gonna be very vague because it's still under development, and if it does launch, it's gonna be huge. But more or less, it's like an app to help the medical community, and I know that's a very dangerous thin line because of HIPAA laws and everything. So, yeah, I was actually gonna message you after this or sometime like later tonight or tomorrow to actually because as of now I have a table layout, I think it's called, right? And as of now, I'm just setting the single person's information into a single layout, and that table needs to be like filled in with a lot of layouts. If that makes any
Yeah,
sense, I'm not
yeah,
conveying it very well.
yeah.
Okay, yeah.
It-
It's only saving one, and I need to save every single person I'm trying to implement. But we
yeah,
can do that another time.
if you message me, I can help you. I can help you as
All right,
well.
cool. Yeah, yeah, no problem.
So I guess we can continue with our code.
I think everyone who wanted to copy had time to copy. If you didn't, you could message us and just say something in the chat if you're not comfortable saying it
if you
out
did
loud.
that, no, just kidding.
Yes.
Just
So so on the left, you have to click the manifest file. So click the manifest file, and you'll see this screen. So in this space, we're gonna put permissions. And to use a camera and the memory of your phone, you need a permission. So that's why I'm gonna make permissions. So this is very important. Every single character, like even if you um character like different from mine, that'll make your application not be launched. I mean, it'll launch, but like permissions won't be granted. So make sure to copy each character one by one. Android dot permission camera and uses permission Android name Android permission right external storage uses feature Android name Android hardware dot camera and Android required true. Yeah. So this is all you have to write.
What does the write internal storage do?
Oh, that's a good question. So once you take a picture, you know how e- all the images in bit, right? So
Correct.
first it'll be in bit array, and then it'll be changed into a bitmap. And then so once you take the image, you have to store in the phone, right?
Mhm.
And you have to grant a permission to do that.
Okay. Oh, is
So
that
to
like
store the image in the memory, that's why you need a permission.
okay? So that's like allow X app to access photos. Is that where that comes in?
Yeah, so do you download you probably have account in this thing. When you download an app from the Play Store and then once you launch it, do you remember like can you allow this? Can you allow
Yeah.
this? Yeah, that and that's because they have this lines of permissions in their Android Studio.
Okay, I got it. That's cool.
This
So
I've always
will
wondered that.
do the same thing.
is it just the permissions that give you the prompt that say allow it to use this, or does it also do it for the features? Do they both do it?
Wait, could you repeat the question, please?
So I have an Android phone, so I know when I download an app, and like the first thing that happens when you open the app, it says, "Would you like to allow this app to access camera? Would you like this app to access photos? Would you like this app to? So is that the permissions and the features that it's asking me for,
Uh,
or
not
is
the
it just the
features.
permissions, not the features?
So
Okay.
when I click the yes, that is saying I can use all the features in the camera application. I can use everything in the camera and access the
Oh, okay.
storage. So
So
yeah, you
is the
can use
feature
everything.
part of the camera? What's the so is the what exactly is the difference between the camera feature and the camera permission? What's the difference?
For the camera feature, are you talking about taking picture?
No, I mean like here in the code. Why do we need to say that uses feature and has permission to use it? Why not just one? Like what's the difference? So the user permission gives you permission to use the camera, but then why do we need the uses feature? Does that actually give us
Oh,
access to the code?
oh, now I get what you're saying. Yeah, so yeah, you have to grant all the features, and by setting required, you have to you're making the user to make to make you're saying that the user has to allow this feature to use the app. So in addition to having permission, we're trying to access its features as well. Yeah, that is why, yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you, Josh.
Yeah. So
Is there like a whole list of like permissions that like Google I guess will give you to like access different parts of the hardware?
yeah,
Like go through like the documentation.
yeah, so there's a website. It's a Google website. There's a specific website that Google made, and it's for Android Studio only, and it it gives you a whole list of all the functions. So when I make the app, I go there to find what permissions or what functions in each class they have. So yeah. So Google has a set of websites for the Android Studio.
Yeah, I'm looking at that now.
I
That's
just
cool.
posted a link to every single Android permission in a GitHub thing, which is very interesting. There's lots of them. Let's see.
Yeah, so
300 plus.
Oh wow. Wow, that is a
How about
lot.
that?
I let's go to Gradle now. So click Gradle Scripts. There's two Gradle, project and module. Click the module and you'll see this screen. And um what is important is if you misspell any one single character, that'll completely change the execution process. So make sure that to copy each single character one by one. So all projects, repositories, even URL. I'll explain what the URL and all this code means in a moment. Implementation com.github Pedro SG 94 auto permission. But what I make the most mistake when I'm making an app is this part. Many times I make a spelling error. Like instead of putting like GitHub, I'll put like Git and another T and then hub. And that'll make the error. So yeah, make sure to have each character one by one. So GitHub, Pedro SG94, auto permissions, yep, and JPEG. So what happened is all projects repositories Maven, the Jetpack, allowing me to use the GitHub, the GitHub Pedro SG94. This Jetpack is allowing me to use this. And what auto permission is I'll explain more detail later. We're gonna write the source code for this one. Do you remember in the manifest all the permissions? This auto permissions will allow us to write source codes that makes the users to grant the permissions to camera and the storage. Everything will be clear once I go to the Java code and write the source code down. So basically, all these codes is allowing me to use the auto permissions, which I'll implement later and write the source codes down. And what auto permission is, it'll be cleared once I go to main activity.java. So once you're done, you'll see the top blue part, Gradle files have changed. Click sync now. Gradle project sync in progress. And if you don't have any spelling error, you'll see configure successful. And if you see any error message, that means you have a spelling error, probably. It's a morning time here. Yeah, I'm in Korea now. It's very difficult to explain without having a breakfast now.
It's okay, Josh. You're doing fine. It's a good
What
explanation.
time is it over there?
It is a 10:46 a.m. But the thing is,
Oh,
my class ends. I mean, I have to stay up until morning time in Korea for the class in US.
oof.
And my exam, which was a 3-hour exam, just ended. So I only had 1 hour sleep and just woke up for the workshop. So very
The
tired.
dedication of this man.
Yeah, very
Yeah, we're
tired.
programmers, man. We have no sleep schedule. Feels bad, man.
Yeah, because I live in Korea, sleep pattern is very difficult to manage. Because the class, I have to follow up with the US time. So yeah.
Yeah,
How
I
did
don't
you
think.
get into doing developing Android apps, Josh?
Oh, I took an internship for the Android building.
Oh, okay, cool.
I took an internship in Korea.
Oh, that's cool. So that's where you learned like all of the main stuff. I'm guessing you probably already knew the Java, but
Yeah, I learned Java, and at the company I mean, actually I learned it before and then
Mhm.
built at the company.
That's cool. Yeah.
So yeah, I live in do you know the Silicon Valley in California?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, in uh I live in a city where it's similar to Silicon Valley. There's all the companies uh around my place. That's why internship is very accessible in my area.
What city do you live in, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh, I live in Gwangju. Uh,
Oh, okay.
Gwangju, yeah.
I I only know Seoul. Is that close to Seoul?
Gwangju is south. It's a bit south than Seoul, and the do you know where Samsung is?
Nah, I can't
Oh,
say I do.
it's where Samsung is. So like Samsung is right next to my apartment. Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool.
Doesn't
Yeah.
Yes.
Samsung own like an entire city over in Korea? I thought they had like a big Samsung like city where like everyone works for Samsung.
So Samsung makes clothing, food, license, everything. So they're all over the place in the countries, not just in Seoul or Gwangju, everywhere. I mean, its headquarters, Samsung Electronics headquarters is in Suwon, which encompasses Gwangju. But the
That's
headquarters is all different. So within Samsung, there's Samsung Electronics, Samsung License, Samsung clothing, everything. Yep, we're running late, so source code,
Yeah.
main activity.
sorry about that.
No, it's fine. It's my fault. It's fine. So main activity extends app compact activity, and this is where I'm gonna use auto permissions. Implements auto permissions listener. And this is making the red lines. Don't worry about right now. The reason why we can use auto permissions is because we defined in the Gradle. We told specifically that we're gonna use the auto permissions. That's why I'm gonna use the auto permissions. So we have to make the inner class. So let's do class camera surface view. This is the inner class. Extends surface view. Implements surface folder dot callback. And I'll explain it, but the reason why, so we're extending the basic part of surface view, but the reason why I implement the surface holder is because surface holder basically allows us to create and control the surface view. So private surface holder, M holder, private camera, public constructor, camera, surface view, context, super calling the parent, M holder, get holder. We are creating the holder because holder literally what do you call it? Allows us to create and control it. And holder dot add callback this and public void surface created surface holder camera that open. This is the part where we're opening the camera. Try you learn try and catch in the Java probably in 2.1.1 introduction to the programming camera set preview display and holder the catch exception the print trace trace and the yeah, let's pause it right here. I mean, we're gonna write more. Everything will be clear once I write more code, but yeah. Print stack trace print stack. Yep.
I tried following along and then immediately realized that I had a .kt file for main activity.
No, we'll wait.
No, it's fine. Don't worry about it. I'll just follow along. I don't want to hold it up. I just thought it was funny. I'll mention it.
Yeah.
Did that happen to anybody else? So I have never used Android Studio before this, so I guess it was just auto set to or set to default for Kotlin.
They're trying to push Kotlin. They want everyone to stop using Java because they know how bad Java is.
But at the same time though, I get that, but like Java's still gonna be around. Like they've used it for so much stuff. I've
Yeah.
known some people that are like totally pushing Java out. It's like it's still gonna be around. It's gonna be like how COBOL is when people don't know how to program and they gotta pay like some guy $1 million to know how to use it. In, like 20 years.
It's on.
What I'm surprised is in U.S. universities, for the freshmen, they teach Java. And what I don't really get is in Korean university, they teach C language first to the freshmen because if we learn C first, then it allows us to see all the language easily. But to be honest, I think learning C first, then Java is a better step. But yeah, that's my personal opinion.
You're 100% right. We're
Yeah, I'm
100%
inclined to
wrong.
agree.
I think that as well. I think you should learn C first.
Yeah, C
Yeah.
first.
Quick thing,
American universities are busted.
when I interviewed with Jeff Dynamics today, the lady that led the software engineer team basically said the same thing. She doesn't get
Oh,
why
really?
UA. She says she doesn't get why UA doesn't teach C over Java.
Yeah. I think in UAlbany, in this university, I think they teach C language in 333, I think. That's where I learned
Yeah, no, they
in
do teach
333.
C, but yeah, I guess I don't know. I guess maybe if you taught C, they would think like, oh, if you're like you're not gonna use it as much unless you're working like on low level stuff. But it's still like I mean, the language doesn't matter if it teaches you the good concepts. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And C does a good job of doing that. I feel because it doesn't like hold your hand. I don't know. I like that about it.
Yeah, same. Yeah, so did everyone finish this part of code? We'll write a little bit more for the inner class. So, assuming everyone is finished, let's write 2 more methods. Actually, 3 more methods, but short ones. Public void surface changed. So this is all overriding. This holder int format int width int height. Camera start preview. So it's like the activity's life cycle. At each stage, this method is called one by one. So public void surface destroyed surface holder. Camera dot stop. So when we exit this, we have to stop the camera. So and then set the camera null. And then one more method. Public boolean capture camera just taking picture callback. And oh great. Picture callback handler. If camera is not null, camera take picture. So when we did not destroy it, meaning the camera is not null, then the capture method will be called and then take picture. So null handler. Handler controls the surface view. Return true because the returning value is the boolean. Else return false. And yep, that's everything for the inner class. So what I'll say the most important method for today will be the capture. I think we'll use it later. I think this method will be the most important one. And that is because the camera, yeah, in the parameter of the capture, it says camera.picture callback allows us to send the picture that we took, and we will deliver it to the onPictureTaken function later. So onPictureTaken function, we will define it later in the main function. So did everyone finish, or? So do you guys mind if I'll continue?
You can continue unless anyone has a problem with it.
Yeah, you're good.
So let's make an object in the inner class that we defined. A camera surface view, camera view. We made an object. So now we'll be in the Oncreate function. So as I mentioned before, this is inflating the layout that we made. So frame layout. We made frame layout in the layout before. Frame layout preview frame. Find view by ID r.id preview frame. To revisit frame layout, it's from here. Frame layout. It is we're calling we're using this part frame layout. And the reason why we're calling the frame layout is we defined all the inner class here. We're putting the camera surface view into the frame layout. So camera view, new camera surface view, this preview frame dot add view camera view. This is very important. We're putting the camera surface view into the frame layout. Button. As I mentioned before, we are using the ID to use the views in the layout button. And then this is very important as well. Set on click listener. I have mentioned this before. The event listener. New view dot on click listener. Public void on click view v take picture. So take picture function will allow us to take picture. And auto permissions. Remember auto permissions is from here. Auto permissions. In the Gradle file, we call the GitHub file. Permissions, companion, load all permissions. This one. The request code means if the request code is received as 101, that means they'll execute the auto permissions. Oh, we're almost done now. So we have to make one more function, which is take picture function, and then override the methods for the auto permissions, and that's all we have to do. So it'll be very quick. So let's continue. Let's write take picture function. So public void take picture camera view dot capture. Remember the capture function we defined in the inner class before. New camera camera dot picture callback public void on picture taken function is very important. I'll explain a bit later. Byte data camera. What happens is once you take the picture by using capture function, once the image is created, it'll be this function will be called on picture taken. So, and it'll be passed on as a byte array. And then we have to convert the byte array of image into a bitmap. So try bitmap factory decode byte array data 0 the length string out URIs media storage store images media insert image get content solver bitmap image media there
When you're
all right,
declaring
let's
it,
see.
it's by map bitmap. You're missing a T, I think. Above on
Oh
the
yeah,
red.
thanks.
Oh,
Thanks. Yeah, bitmap. Yeah, perfect. Thanks.
gotcha.
And then because it is a try catch phrase, we have to put the catch. Well, actually, yeah, catch exception the print stack, and this means we are putting the error into the stack and then display it. Let's try. So if out URI is null, log D means the log allows us to see the error at the bottom. So the tag will be sample capture. The message that it'll print out will be image insert failed. IEEE turn else URI out URI parse out URIs send cast new intent scan file out URI India. Oh yeah, scanner. Camera, let's start preview. Action media scanner. Oh yeah, scan. Yep. So this is all for the take picture. And we're almost done. We have to override the 3 methods for the auto permissions. That's all we need to do. One is we'll take the picture through the capture function. And then this is defined in the inner class surface view we defined. So on picture taken, function will be called after we took a picture and will be passed on as a byte array. And then we have to change the format of the image into the bitmap. And media store allows us to store the image into the memory. And that is why we have a media store. So if you go to your memory in your phone, the title of the image that you capture will be called captured image. So you have to go to the probably settings and then files. And once you click several files, you'll see the image that you took with the title captured image. And the description of the image is the message that can be seen once you swipe up the image or click it. So can I continue or?
I think we're good. Does
Yeah,
anyone
so
get
you'll see the red line in the public class main activity. And once you put your mouse, drag it into the red line, you'll see the implement methods. I mean, I can write the methods one by one, but this will be quicker. So click implement methods. Undenied, ungranted. Click OK. And let's write one more function. Public void on request permissions. This is our last step on request permissions. Result int. Remember we had a request code of 101 request code string permissions int print results. Oh boy. Super on request calling the parent function request code permissions and results. Auto permissions. This is why we use the auto permissions in the Gradle file. Companion purse permissions. This request code permission this permissions. For the undenied toast, we're gonna make the toast message to pop up. Make messages permissions denied permissions actually strings length post length long show unrented post make text this comma permissions granted strings permissions post long permissions, not permissions. Yep. And this is all the steps. So in the Android Studio, you don't need a physical Android phone. You can use the emulator. So in this case, I'll use a Pixel 2. So once I run the app, it'll take several minutes. Hope there's no error. Wait, can everyone see the emulator or no?
Nope.
Is it up?
No.
No?
Yeah.
Oh, I
Is it
Wait, no, I think it's still running.
have
okay.
to
Check. So you have to check your whole entire screen. So where it says screens and applications, I have two monitors. I don't know if you.
does it work?
Yeah.
Now it's just the thing. But yeah.
Well, not yet, but we see the phone.
So you can see the phone now, right?
Yes.
Correct.
Yes.
Nice. So it is still on the execution process. It takes several minutes. So you can see the auto permissions message, right? Allow my application to take pictures and record video. So
Yes.
click allow. Allow my application to access photos and media and files. Remember we did a in the manifest file allow the once you launch it, it'll be slow, so I'm gonna rerun it again. Yep, perfect. So permissions denied is 0, so that means got it. So take picture. So yep, you can see how this is a yep. Let's say the orientation default orientation is the landscape. That's why it looks weird. If you want the portrait mode, um, you have to write more code, is which will take many half an hour more. So let's say I want to take a picture of the ceiling. If I click take picture, you can have the image in the memory. So let's go back to the my source code. Actually, can I share my entire screen? Entire
Yeah.
screen.
Yeah.
Does it work?
Give it a second. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, that
Perfect.
works.
So you can see both emulator and the source code, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Nice.
Yes.
This is everything. Yep. So the camera application, there's only two ways, using intent and surface view. Intent I did in my previous workshop. This one's surface view. So unlike intent, which I have to call the camera and then launch it, this one you can literally, it's like a surface view, as the term defines. You can launch the camera. You can see the camera immediately. if you have any questions.
Hello?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, it was just really quiet.
So I assume everyone is finished writing the code.
Did anyone run into any issues?
Starting with a Kotlin project, but that was already in it.
Colin.
Fuck it. I have a question. So, the picture, right? Or when you log in and just take a picture and you're able to move what I'm guessing is the camera around, like, yeah, the where your cursor is. Where did that picture come from?
Isn't that
Oh,
like
it's a default.
Yeah, it's like a
It's a
default
default
one.
generated room.
Oh,
Like
wow.
If
it's
I
Okay.
plug my phone with a USB cable, then
Yeah.
I can actually take a picture of the place you're in.
Not me. Wait, what? Snowden? It's a joke.
Wait, so
Anyway,
oh, it's a joke. Okay, yeah.
Isn't that called what is it called? Side loading? I think it's called that for like Apple or like iPhones on like Xcode, I remember.
I
Like you
mean, don't
side
hate
load
me
from
for
your
this.
phone or something.
Don't hate me for this comment, but I'm against Apple, so I don't know
so
any Apple stuff.
I am too.
I'm
I am as
against
well.
their laptops, but their phones are okay.
You can't call
For
yourself
me, I'm against Apple
harder.
for
I'm an
everything.
Apple slave, but I'm against Apple.
I used to be an Apple slave, but I just talked to Carter before this workshop. Their new generation of MacBooks with these M1 ARM processors don't support virtualization, so he can't even run Android Studio or
Lamau,
VirtualBox.
That's
Lamau.
great. That's
Who
what a
uses a Mac in 2021?
That's the future. I'm on a Mac right now.
Shh, that's the
I'm
point.
on
Quite a
Mac
few
right
people
now.
are on
No, you are
Macs.
not. No,
I
you
don't
are.
Yeah.
understand who thinks it's a good idea to buy a Mac for a
I
computer
tried a
science
Mac
degree.
for literally 1 week. I couldn't access my files. I said, "Fuck this," I'm returning it.
I don't know. I like how the one thing I like about the Mac is how it's very close to Linux as far as like the shell goes. Like I like that stuff. But I don't think that's a or like I guess Unix based, but I don't think that's a reason to just buy a certain computer. I just happened to get a Mac a long time ago, so here I am.
Such is the Mac life. I
Yeah.
had an iPhone a long time ago, and then I realized very quickly, oh, developing for Apple phones is comically difficult. You need to like at least back in the day it used to be. It was like they force you to pay the Apple developer fee. It was like impossible to get into.
$100 a year.
Yeah, I was like, nope, I'm not doing that. Screw
Yeah,
that.
it's
I'm
ridiculous.
switching over to Android.
A year? I thought it was $100 per app.
I maybe they changed it. I don't know, but I remember when a couple of years ago I had made a few like basic Swift apps, and also another thing too. I heard they're switching to C sharp. I don't know if that's. I heard that from Phipps actually. Phipps had said that they're
Apple?
switching. Yeah, they're switching. They're
The
giving C
Apple?
sharp. They're giving C sharp. With I think .NET 6, they're giving C sharp. They're giving you the availability to use C sharp when you're making Apple applications.
Oh
Hopefully
no,
that's
that's actually
true.
gonna make it viable. No, that's
Yeah.
terrible. We want to drive people away from Apple.
Okay,
Honestly,
so Sharp is supporting Apple ecosystem for a while actually. You can actually develop a Apple application using C Sharp like since 2017 or something.
Oh my god, really? I'm
Yeah.
learning it. Okay, that's great. I mean, yeah, that listen, I don't love Apple, but if you can do that, fine. Like that's them being actually better. Like, that Swift is just like it's fine. It's not a bad language, but making people use Swift to develop stuff really not fun.
Swift is it's better than you think actually. You can actually
No,
develop in
yeah,
Windows.
it's not bad. It's a fine language. I'm just saying, like the typical person, it's like very like it's not used other than like what it's used for, if you know what I mean. It's not like Java where it's like it's taught in a lot of places.
Yeah, it's like a Python, but I think it's better than Python, but yeah, it's my opinion.
Swift is yeah, it's like it's statically typed, so it's like a statically typed version of Python.
Yeah, it's a TypeScript. Anyone knows TypeScript?
Yeah, isn't that like the
Yeah.
Java? It's like yeah,
Yeah,
not
so
Java.
JavaScript is like a TypeScript is a superset of JavaScript. I mean, opposite. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, the syntax wise, Python and Swift is very similar to JavaScript and TypeScript, in my opinion. People might agree or not, but yeah.
Yeah, I know Swift is used for deep learning. I've heard that.
Yeah, it's actually pretty good. As far as I like
Deep learning.
heard, machine learning actually TensorFlow supports Swift, if you know that, which is
I
pretty.
have heard that actually. Yeah, you're right.
TensorFlow has bindings to literally every single language. It's no
Yeah.
surprise.
But yeah, one of the like right now Python, JavaScript, and Swift is like a mainly supported right now. I mean Python it was the first one I think, but I mean C++, yeah, but
I mean, it's done in C++ and C is the bindings that everything else uses. But they recently made it so now you have direct access to the bindings. They used to not give you direct access to the bindings. They'd be like, no, you can't, even though we wrote the application in C++, you can't actually use the C++ yourself. You have to use the Python. And that annoyed me so hard for so long. Anyway, Josh, is that everything for your workshop?
Yeah, that's all I got. Yep.
Well, that was really good.
Yeah, I thought it was a nice, informative workshop.
Sounds like
Thanks.
someone has a question.
Yeah, so you said you use what type of emulator is it? The Pixel 2 API?
Actually, you can probably use anything, but for me,
No,
I use the can you see the screen? Pixel 2
yeah,
API
yeah, yeah,
28.
yeah. So my question was, right, how does that get converted to other phones, right? How does that get converted, like the screen dimensions, let's say a Galaxy S10 or something like that?
Oh,
Does the IDE automatically convert it? Like when you launch your app, right? So the emulator you're using is Pixel 2, right? How is it going to show up on a, let's just say, Galaxy S10?
a good question. So once do you know how to make your phone to developer mode?
Yes.
So
Oh,
you have
well, I
to
have an
change your
iPhone, so
phone to developer mode in the settings.
okay.
So once you plug in with your USB cable, then and then you have to make allow in your phone. Once you click allow, it'll automatically switch into your phone instead of emulator.
Okay. Well, technically I have an iPhone, so that doesn't do me no good. But I'm just saying, right? So let's say you want to develop an app, right? An Android app, and you were using the emulator for the Pixel 2, right? Let's just say someone with the Galaxy S10 wants to download it, right? How
Yeah.
does it automatically get converted to their phone, or do they have to have the developer option on their phone, or how does that work?
So once you're in the developer mode, and once you run it, execute the code, it'll automatically install the app into the phone and launch it.
Okay, so I don't have to do anything on the code where like installing it on different versions or something like that.
No, once you run it, it'll automatically install to your phone.
Okay, got it. Wow. Okay, that's cool. I don't have to worry about more lines. Yay.
Do you need to
Nice.
use like constraints and whatnot for like different phone sizes? Because I remember that was a thing for like applications and for Apple, like
Wait,
at least for like View.
what was the question?
So like if you want to like make an application like and say like you want to have like a I don't know, it could be like a multi-view or just like a single view application, but say you're using like different size phones, like different models, right? It'll show up differently based on like how it's like automatically laid out. You know what I mean? So
Oh,
like
so
I think
so
the
that's a
sorry.
good question. So when you launch it, display according to screen size, it'll be all different. So that is why the constraint layout is very hard to use. The constraint layout, even if it looks good in your phone, it'll look differently if you launch in a tablet because tablet is bigger.
Yeah.
So you have to you have to put more code into the layout so that um the layout will be looked well according to the different sizes.
Yeah, I remember I had made like a simple app. I think it was a magic 8 ball app with Apple, and it was like I remember I tried to emulating it on like just a regular iPhone, and then I emulated it on the iPhone like 6 Plus at the time, and then the iPad. It just looked horrible because the
Yeah.
constraints weren't set up.
So yeah, I think that's because you use the tablet. So what I recommend is don't use the constraint layout. What I recommend is the linear layout because um yeah, the constraint layout is difficult to use for the different size of screen. So what I recommend is a different layout other than constraint.
All right, I got you. All right, thanks.
Yep. So any other questions? I guess we can wrap this meeting. So thank you so much for joining, everyone.
All right, thank you for
Thank you,
hosting.
Josh. Good
Yeah,
work.
man.
Thank
Good
you,
job,
All
guys.
right.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Before
Thank you. Good
before
night.
everyone yeets,
Yeah, thanks,
okay.
Josh.